Breaker Crunchers! Welcome to another episode of Couch Crunchers. It's Saturday night in Phoenix, Arizona. Tonight we are talking about The Devil Watches You All the Time. No, that's not right.
The Devil Wears Prada all the time.
The Devil Wears Prada all the time.
The devil does dirty all the time.
The devil went down to Georgia all the time.
Oh, that's
North Carolina this time.
The Devil is Dave Grohl all the time. Is that it?
The Devil has lots of big actors in it all the time.
The Devil Made Me Do It all the time.
Yes. I think, what is it actually called? The Devil All the Time, right? That's what it's actually called?
Yeah.
If you can't tell, it's not the best name for a movie, but it is based on a book, so I don't know. It's an interesting name for a movie.
Yeah, so I watched it last night. I'm trying to get my headphones set up right now, so it might sound really echoey, so I apologize to our listeners. But I watched it last night. Anna fell asleep, but I loved it. But we'll get more into it in a minute. What I want to know from you guys is, what are you currently watching that you kind of want to get some hype about?
Hype or just chat?
Hype. You want to get people on the bandwagon so your favorite shows don't get canceled.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we all know Sam's in charge of the cancellations anyway. We discovered this like 2-3 weeks ago.
He's the mechanic.
Well, you guys always skip me. Lance always skips me. He's like, let's go to Max first. And then he tells what he does. And he's like, okay, moving on.
I just assume you're always watching One Punch Man. So
I know, right? I was going to make the same joke.
I'm just kidding.
No, you know what? I like to talk about anything I watch, not just the stuff that I think is good.
Well, yeah, that works too.
I went and saw.
I try to get people on the bandwagon. So
yeah, no, I get it. But I went and saw
camera.
I talk about what I'm
excited. The new Jim Caviezel movie. And
what is it called?
Infidel. Yeah.
It's worth it?
No, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Ever.
Worse than the Matthew McConaughey being a video game dad?
Oh. See, Matthew McConaughey.
I just brought up PTSD for Sam.
No, see, the thing is that the Matthew McConaughey one had promise up until the reveal at the midpoint. That one was like, it was more of a letdown than just a terrible movie. Infidel was like, they never got past the brainstorming part of the story writing. They said, well, what if this happens? And then that goes into the story this way. Oh yeah. And then what about this other thing? And they just they threw it all together in kind of a haphazard way, slapdash. And then they never resolved any of the initial ideas that they came up with. For example. So
it's one of those movies that's going to have a script rewrite 6 months after it comes out.
Oh my gosh. There's Jim Caviezel has a wife. Jim Caviezel plays a devout Christian blogger who's invited to go to Egypt to appear on a Muslim talk show, and then he starts preaching to the Muslim world, and they don't take too kindly. He ends up getting kidnapped and beaten and dragged off to Iran. And his wife, who was Christian, loses her faith like years before because they get in a car accident and she loses a baby. She was pregnant and she lost the baby. They never do anything with that. It's just, yeah, she had faith. Now she doesn't have faith, and that's just it.
And she never regains her faith, or
no, they don't even talk about it. Like, she ends up going to Iran, where she meets with a bunch of Christians who are underground, and they're like, "Tell us about your faith." And then she flashes back to the car accident. And you're like, okay, so these Christians are going to help her regain her faith, and that never happens. Nothing ever happens with her crisis of faith. They just bring it up and they just let it hang there.
It's the sequel. The sequel, they're going to handle all that.
There's no sequel. There's no sequel to it. They also never tell you why the guy was actually kidnapped. Because he doesn't get kidnapped for preaching.
Well, they're just leaving it open-ended. You know, they just want you to make the story your own. Any interpretation is valid, Sam.
Oh, man, that's garbage. You know that's garbage. Anyway, Infidel. So it's bonkers. It's ridiculous. There's this scene where he his initial captor gets shot pursuing him and is dying, and he turns around to cradle the captor's head in this very caring, tender moment. And I was like, where was that building up from? When did they become friends? When did it ever show? One of the last things he says to the guy is, go F yourself. And it's like, what? Go F yourself. And then he's like, oh, but you're dying, so I'll hold you while you die. I don't get it. I don't get what's happening here.
So what you're saying is there was no passion for Jim Caviezel in this movie.
that was a pun, right? You intended that pun,
I think so.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because
it was completely
he was Christ in the Passion of the Christ, right?
He was not a person of interest in this movie.
Oh man.
Good one.
Bazinga.
Infidel.
That's a shame too. That's a shame too, because I'm always on Jim Caviezel's frequency, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go. What else you got? You got his IMDb up? How many can you do?
I think that's the only the three things I've ever seen him in. I couldn't tell you another thing he was in.
Count of Monte Cristo.
I always got him confused with Billy Zane.
He was very good in Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, that's right. He was in that. Yeah, he's good. Billy Zane was the Mummy, right? Not Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we should all see this movie.
Billy Zane is not in The Mummy. No.
The Mummy.
That's a different guy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Am I thinking, who is Billy Zane? He's the one from Titanic, right?
Billy Zane is Phantom. And he's in Titanic.
He was also the Mummy in the
you're thinking of Arnold Vosloo. They look a lot alike, but it's not Billy Zane.
Dude, for 20 years I thought that was the same dude. Wow, you learn a little bit every day.
What?
Really? That wasn't Billy Zane? My mind is blown right now. I feel like this is some Mandela effect thing.
Oh man. Mandela.
Oh man. So you're suggesting to all of our listeners to go see this movie?
I'm suggesting that you should go see Tenet again before you see this movie. You should go see New Mutants again before you see this movie. You should go see Sonic the Hedgehog again before you see this movie.
I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is in theaters right now. Go see that instead.
Oh! Speaking of, I went with my wife and kids and some friends. My friend had rented out a whole theater at Cinemark for $100, and we watched the original Jurassic Park.
There's only $100 right now to rent out an entire theater.
Yeah, whole theater.
Dude, let's have a Halo night.
Right? Jeez, that's cheap.
And my kids were like, dude, that movie is good. That movie is so good. That scene where the lady paleontologist is in the breaker room trying to restart the power, and the freaking raptor jumps out. Dude, that got me. That got me so good. And my kids,
we watched it with my kids the other day.
Yeah, kids are burying their faces. They're screaming. Yeah. They're running all over. We didn't have to tell them to be quiet or sit down because we had the theater to ourselves. It was like they were watching it in their living room, but it was giant. It was a lot of fun.
What a cool experience,
It was really cool.
That is cool.
For them. So we were actually talking about Jurassic Park last night, Max, right?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were over at the Sushi Creek and talking about Jurassic Park and showing it to my kids and how I kind of regretted that decision because I forgot how scary it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of really scary parts, and I was hoping to scare him. I really was hoping to get him a little scared.
Yeah, I remember watching it. I think I was maybe 10 or so because it came out in what, 93?
I think 95. I think this is the 25th
95.
anniversary, and that's why they're showing it again.
So I was 10 years old when it came out. So we went and saw it at the drive-ins, the one out there in Tempe. You know which ones I'm talking about? They're not there anymore. Yeah. So we went and saw it at the drive-in, and that scene where the T-Rex knocks down the porta potty and gobbles that guy up on the toilet scared the crap out of me.
Oh, dude, you were right. It is 93. It's 93.
Is it 93? Yeah. So this is coming from a kid whose grandfather showed him Child's Play and Friday the 13th when I was 5 years old.
Oh.
And Jurassic Park scared me more than both of those movies.
Wow.
And now looking back, I'm like, well, none of them are scary. But if you had to like look at the three of them, the other two are way scarier than Jurassic Park. But I think it's because it felt more real than like Child's Play or Friday the 13th. You know what I mean? Like
you don't know what's gonna stick with you as a kid. Like my friend was watching something like Critters 3, and that's still like that stuck with me as a kid. Critters 3. Of all the crappy horror movies, it's this one where there's like, you guys know Critters?
No,
I don't remember Critters.
Flesh-eating aliens. They look like nasty porcupines that walk on 2 feet. And then in Critters 3, something happens and they form like this giant ball of flesh-eating aliens, and it just rolls around the town, rolling over and eating people. It's so dumb.
Leonardo DiCaprio's in that movie?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. It came out a long time ago, and it was really, really terrible.
Yeah, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Isn't that?
Yeah, I don't have any movies like that. My parents didn't like horror, didn't show us horror, but my wife does. Her mom was watching Arachnophobia. I can't remember exactly how old my wife was.
When I was
that movie,
yeah, she was young. My wife was probably like 4 or 5 years old, and she is so afraid of spiders still to this day, and she attributes it to that movie. And I don't think she's wrong. Her fear of spiders is next level compared to what I've seen other people, and I think it's because of arachnophobia.
That spider has to scare a spider to scare me. It has to come in like weigh the like 15 pounds and like be able to eat my dog. I've never understood the fear of spiders, but it is a very common fear.
Black widows creep me out because they are darn poisonous, man. You get bit by Black Widow.
Creep out and absolute terror are two different things. Like Anna
I don't think
runs
I'm terrified. Yeah, I'm not terrified of
Yeah.
any spider, but I'm cautious anytime I need to kill a Black Widow. I
let me
don't slap it as hard. I like push a shoe against it gently, so I don't want it to jump and then get on me and bite me because they're poisonous, man.
When I was in Scouts, we went to Camp Geronimo one year, and my buddy, he's really into like creepy crawlies, and he went around camp, and every time he saw a snake or a tarantula, he would catch it and bring it back to his tent. And he got to be so known for carrying these bugs around that he would just walk around the camp with like 8 to 10 tarantulas hanging out on his back, just walking around.
Wow.
And
What?
he had like 6 brown ones and 4 black ones. And he found this bug that to this day, I have never seen another record or version of this bug. But it was, imagine like a large gray moth that had pinchers on the front, like really big ones too. Not like little ones, like really big jaws. And it had a scorpion tail.
What?
Yeah, a freaking scorpion tail. A moth with big pinchers on the front and a scorpion tail. What? I've never seen anything like that in my life, and I've never seen anything like it since. It was terrifying. It was like biblical. It was so gross, dude. Like,
Do you guys
that's
remember?
arachnophobia.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying. So essentially a scorpion that can pinch you and fly to sting you.
That sounds
Essentially,
creepy as all get out.
Yeah. Do you guys remember when we were kids, the Easy Bake Oven for boys? It was called Creepy Crawlers. Do you guys remember that?
Sure.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with it.
Okay, does it look anything like this? I'm trying to share my screen. Is it anything like anything on here, Sam?
Let me see.
Can you see it? I don't know if Lance has let me share it yet.
That first one there.
This one right here?
The one that one actually looks a lot like it. That's probably it.
Yeah, what is it? What does it say?
Dude, we
Apatilodes
solved the
torrefacta?
mystery for Sam.
All it took was a quick Google search.
He just searched scorpion wasp.
I literally typed moth with scorpion tail.
I've done that search before, and I don't think it was a well-known species because I've done that search before, and it brought up like a black one that was like a slick body that I saw in that search result. So if you go back to it, I'll show you what I usually
out of it.
There's something like Megaloptera or Megacoptera or something like that. That's usually what the search would return.
Let me share again. Sorry. I figured we didn't need to keep looking at moths. Is this the one you're talking about that you usually see?
Share
Lance?
the screen. I'll tell you. Can you share?
I'm sharing.
I'm sharing. Sorry, F.
No, not that one. It's this. The yellow one there. That's the one that usually comes up.
This thing?
Yeah, that's the one that usually comes up.
And that's effing creepy as well.
That looks like something somebody did on
or the black
Photoshop.
one right above it. Yeah, that's the other one that usually comes up, but those are not the one.
Man.
Why would he do that?
For our listeners, if you want to see what we're looking at, just type in moth with scorpion tail into Google, go to images, you'll be scarred for life. Those are freaking disgusting creatures.
Yeah, they're bad enough as pictures, but in real life, dude, he had it by the wings. Like he would pinch it by the wings, and the little tail was trying to sting him the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't reach it, but kept trying to get him.
Dude, some people are nuts. I don't think we're friends on Facebook anymore because it was someone like I met one time at like a church event and never like saw him again. But he posted online him at work eating a scorpion live. Like,
oh, jeez.
Dude, some of you people are nuts. Maybe he didn't unfriend me. Maybe he's dead. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Which, if so, that would be really sad. But like it was crazy. Some people are nuts, man. I'm not into that. I don't touch creepy crawlies. I will kill them, but I don't want to touch them.
Yeah, bugs have never bothered me. Like, I mean, ants and stuff, those suck because, like, we went to a gender reveal a few weeks ago from one of my really good friends that I used to play with.
Has the fire been put out yet?
This one was really cool. So my friend and his wife, they didn't know what was happening. So I guess her parents thought up the whole thing, and her brother got two of his friends that are pilots to fly like these crop dusters over this field and like let out some like blue stuff, because they were having a boy. Okay. And it was really cool. So we're all standing out in this field and we're like, we don't know what's happening. But it was very controlled. It was not, idiotic. These were licensed pilots that fly these planes every day. So, and all they did, I think it was like blue ribbon or something that they threw out the back like or something like that. What's that?
Like a ticker tape parade?
Yeah, something like that. But it was really cool. So
that is cool.
But yeah, my daughter Taylor was out there and she walked right through like an anthill of red fire ants. And they just immediately just swarmed, right? She was covered, and luckily she didn't get bit. My son got bit right on his foot, but that's it. Like nobody else got any bites, and it was amazing. There were thousands just covering all of us. Like they just attacked because my daughter walked right through an anthill, and it was crazy. Max, are you watching anything good right now?
I have not been. Well, yes and no. So I'm watching on HBO Max this Raised by Wolves show. It's a Ridley Scott show. I'm really enjoying it. But what I didn't realize is, so it comes out every Thursday. I thought they were only releasing one episode every Thursday. They've been releasing 2 episodes every Thursday. So I watched the latest episode, I think yesterday. I finally got around to it, and I finish it, and it's starting a new one, and I'm like, what? There's another one? And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's another one after that? Because I missed I missed them. I'm caught up on last week's episodes. But it's a really good show. I'm not totally caught up on it, but that's been really, it's really interesting, very sci-fi, psychological. And then, of course, The Boys. I'm not done with the latest episode. I was trying to finish it earlier this evening, but I still have 20 minutes left.
Oh, dang, I was going to surprise you guys, and let's talk about it real quick, but you haven't finished it.
I have not finished it, so I'd rather not spoil it.
You haven't started it?
Let me just say... Okay, well, I'm not going to spoil anything then, but there was a very shocking moment that I was like, what the frick? It's a good episode so far, and I'm only 40 minutes in.
Was it when she opens her shirt and says, laser my tits?
No, nothing like that happens.
They keep showing that in the trailers. I'm still waiting for that.
It does happen. It does happen in this episode.
Who says that?
Stormbreaker?
Stormfront.
Oh, she says that? Oh. So Homelander, I guess. Yeah, I haven't seen that trailer.
Yeah, that's at the very end, and what proceeds after that is very you just gotta watch it, dude.
I'm excited to.
The ending was one of the most ridiculous scenes I've ever seen on The Boys. So, but no, the episode
such a good show, dude. It is such a good
really
show. Good. Well, I also want to tell you guys about some other shenanigans.
Really fun.
Some other shenanigans I've been getting up to. One, I've been replaying the Spider-Man game, and I'm finally getting around to the DLC of that game. I hadn't purchased it before, and I did. So I got through one of the 3 episodes of DLC, and it's really good. And I was lucky enough to get one of the PS5 pre-orders that went live. That was a whole big fiasco this week. And so, I mean, I don't have the actual device. Yeah, they are. Rightly so. Rightly so, man. They, like, months ago, they said, you'll have plenty of time to pre-order a PS5. We'll give you plenty of advance notice. And then they reveal it, and then they tweet out later saying, it'll be pre-orderable tomorrow. Well, first of all, that's not plenty of notice for a $500 machine. And then second of all, Walmart was like, screw that. Let's release the pre-orders. And then every other people, like, followed suit.
If we're talking about games, have you guys seen this game Among Us?
No, I haven't.
You guys ever played Mafia?
Fungus? The fungus Among Us?
Wait. Hold up. Did I hijack your what have you been watching, Sam?
I'll be real quick, but
you're good. Go ahead.
You guys ever played Mafia or Werewolf? There's this new game. I think it's a mobile game, but it's called Among Us, and it's basically.
Can you boot them out? Mobile games? I don't play mobile games. Come on.
It's like, dude, it's big on Twitch right now. I've been watching a lot of Twitch streamers play this game. It's outrageous. It's basically Mafia, but they're like these little cartoon astronauts in space, and 2 of them are imposters, or one of them's an imposter, and he goes around and kills the other ones and tries not to get caught. But if he gets caught, they throw him off the ship. It's basically Mafia, but it's very cute. You might have seen a lot of memes from it.
So you're playing against other people, or is it a single player you're playing against? Bots?
No, you're playing against other people. It's Mafia, but they've given it some like graphic interpretation, so it's really fun.
It sounds a little bit like one of the Jackbox games, but a little different. Jackbox has a mini game that's essentially Mafia.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail.
You're good. I'm kidding. I pretty much said what I was going to say. I really haven't been watching a lot because I'm back to work after 6 weeks of paternity leave. I've been a little bit busy with that. And the baby, and then I've been playing Spider-Man when I do have time, and my wife and I have been hanging out a lot more, watching Psych for my first time. That show's freaking hilarious. It's so good. I didn't want to get a chance.
Never seen it before?
I had never seen Psych before. I mean, I've seen episodes here and there because Kelsey watched it when we first got married, and I'd like walk in and out of the room with her watching it, and I'd sit down and watch episodes or 2. But I found Gus to be really annoying. I didn't like him at all because out of context, I think Gus is really annoying. But when you watch the show, Gus is great. Freaking love him.
Oh, see, I find Sean really annoying.
Sean can be really annoying too, but like,
yeah.
In season 1, I hated Gus because Gus did nothing but whine and complain and say how he didn't want to be there, and then his character stopped doing that. Gus is a lot better after season 1. It took me seriously 2 years to get through season 1. I just wasn't interested in it.
That show came out in such a different era that there's scenes in like the first couple seasons where Sean tells Gus, "Don't be gay," and I was like, "Dude,
Well,
you could never say that on TV."
Even now, they're doing stuff that I'm like, this could be done now. Like the latest episode I just watched was like a Bollywood episode, essentially like making fun of Bollywood, but like in a playful
way. They're not
way.
making fun; they're paying homage.
Okay, I still feel like today they'd be called out for cultural appropriation.
Yeah, for sure.
I know. I just like today you can't do the same stuff you used to be able to. But you're right. They did a soap opera episode in like season 2, which I don't think was disrespectful at all. It was freaking hilarious. It was one of the best episodes of the show. Do you guys remember that one? Where like Sean like becomes a star on a soap opera because they're investigating a murder that happened.
Telenovela.
Yeah, it's a telenovela one. Yeah, soap opera, but Spanish version. But that episode is freaking gold, man.
So I haven't watched the new movie yet because I wanted to rewatch the whole series, and so we haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either. I've been meaning
to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't seen it because I wanted to watch the whole show. I mean, I kind of know how the show ends, but it's fine. I'm still excited to watch it. I know who ends up together, and I know that, anyways, I don't want to ruin it for people that do want to watch the show. So I know it's an old show at this point.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show. I think Psych's going to go down as one of the, top shows of the last, decade or whatever.
Kelsey's been wanting me. She's been wanting me to watch it a long time. She and I love Scrubs. We watch the entire show from start to finish once a year. We listen to the podcast where they're rewatching it. And Psych is like her number 2 show, basically. She has told me, she's like, I could watch Psych over and over again, just like we watch Scrubs over and over again. So I'm like, all right, my wife loves this. I have to give it a try. And I'm glad I did because it's fun.
So around that time, Psych was on the USA Network, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Around that time, they had quite a few shows that were really good. Did you guys ever watch Monk?
Sure.
No.
So Monk is fantastic, and Monk is very kind of similar idea. So Psych is a little bit more dumb, like some of the jokes and stuff like that, and Monk is a little bit more serious, but they're both comedies. You know what I'm trying to say, right, Sam?
Yeah.
The Monk is fantastic. So Monk has Tony Shalhoub in it, who's essentially like this super extreme, like has Asperger's or something on that level, like, and he's a germaphobe but he can like see things like Sean does, except there's not this perceived notion that Monk is psychic like what Sean does.
No, they say he's extreme OCD, and because of his OCD, he can see the things that are out of place. And so when someone tries to cover up their crime and they leave something out of place, it really sticks with him, and then he figures out the crime based on his OCD.
But if you've never watched a show with Tony Shalhoub, that man is one of the best actors I've ever seen. He's in that Marvelous Miss Maisel show, and he's just fantastic. So he alone is a good enough reason to watch Monk. So Max, that can be your next one.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I've been watching this HBO show from 2001. It was hugely popular when it came out. It won a bunch of awards. 6 Feet Under. Have you guys heard of it?
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So 6 Feet Under, like, I don't know how this fell off my radar when it came out, but Anna and I had just started watching it. We're
you
about
like
midway
12
through.
in 2001?
No. I
don't think you guys are that different in
high
age.
School.
Wait, how old are you, Lance?
35.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're pretty close. So you would have been like a sophomore?
I'm the young buck.
Sophomore, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Max is like...
Yeah, I'm 32.
32. Okay. Yeah. Max was
But
12.
I'm the one that acts.
I was an 8th
I'm the
grade.
one that acts a little bit.
I remember
younger.
when 9/11 happened. I was an 8th
with all my toys and stuff. But no, 6 Feet Under is fantastic. So it has Michael C. Hall, who's famous for Dexter, and Peter Krause, who went on to do like Parenthood, and he's now in a show 911. But it is so good. Like, the writing is next level. It's essentially this family that runs a funeral home and they're just completely dysfunctional. Like none of these people know how to talk to other people. Peter Krause plays the son that kind of left the business and went off to do his own thing, and then comes back after his father dies, and he's like the most normal of all of them, but they're all jacked up. Every single one of them are jacked up. And then the father dies in the first episode, it makes them even more jacked up. And then trying to watch them run a business and keep the father's legacy going. But it's funny, it's weird. I feel like it's copied a lot now. Like there's a lot of shows that have come out since then that have a similar, like, copy the format a little bit, but the writing is top notch. But it won a few Golden Globes and it was highly acclaimed. But it's well worth the watch if you guys want to give it a shot. It's on HBO Max right now. And then the other one, I don't remember if I talked about it last week, but every Friday Apple TV comes out with a new episode of Ted Lasso. Max, I think you told me about this one.
Yes, Kelsey and I want to watch it next. It's on our to-do.
It's
with Psych,
so good. They're only 30 minutes. There's only 8 episodes, I think, out now, 8 or 9. But it is so funny. It's Jason Sudeikis, and he's an American football coach, and he gets hired by a British soccer team to coach the soccer team. He knows nothing about football, and he's essentially been brought in there to so essentially what happens is the new owner of this football club is the wife of the previous owner. They had a divorce, and she got the soccer team in the divorce, and she wants this soccer team that he loves so much to just go down in flames as kind of like a revenge.
Okay.
So she hires the worst coach that she could ever find to coach the team, because she's hoping that this thing just stinks, right? But he actually starts to do well. So it starts to backfire, but it's so good. And I think I've said this a couple times. Apple TV, if you guys have not given those shows on Apple TV a chance, so far I have not watched a miss. Like they've all been really good.
The struggle with Apple TV is it's hard to watch. Like it's hard to find somewhere to watch it. Like my Roku TV can watch it, but we have one TV that we use a Chromecast on. Can't Chromecast Apple TV because Google and Apple hate each other. Yeah, you can. I haven't been able to. I think you can Apple cast it, but I don't think you can Chromecast it. And then I have an Android TV in my living room. I can't get the app on it. So it's a difficult app to watch. Is one of my biggest struggle on it.
See, that's how I feel with HBO Max.
HBO Max definitely has its issues too.
So the Apple TV app is on Android phones and stuff like that.
Is it? Do I not have it downloaded on here? I guess I need to download it.
I don't think you've tried hard enough.
You know what? Maybe not. I know I can't do it on my Android TV. I did try because we wanted to watch this show, but now you're right. I need to download Apple TV onto my phone. So maybe that's my problem. Actually, I can't find it on an Android. I just typed in Apple TV.
I thought they released it for everything.
No, I have. Okay, I have tried this before. I don't see Apple TV on here, but it's probably on my Xbox or on my PlayStation, which doesn't help me because my Roku TV is in my office with my Xbox and my PlayStation, and I can already watch Apple TV on that. So anyway, I'm going to watch the show. I'm just going to have my wife come in here into my office and watch it with me, which is fine.
Yeah, so here it says watch Apple TV Plus, PC, Android, and other devices.
Well, maybe I'm just...
Yeah, so I don't know why you can't
Maybe
find it.
Google has made it hard to find because I typed in Apple TV Plus. It's not easy to find in the App Store. I can't find it.
Interesting. Well, Ted Lasso is well worth the watch. It might be on Xbox and stuff. You might want to try that, Max.
I already explained why that doesn't help me. But
yeah, that's right. Your Xbox crashed and burned.
No, my Xbox and PlayStation are in the same room as the TV that can already use Apple TV. That's why.
Oh, wait, I thought you had 2 Xboxes.
No, one of them broke.
Oh, yeah.
And so I moved the one that works into my office so I can still game. Yeah.
Well, I have plenty of Fire Sticks, so come down here and get one. But no, it's a very good show. There's quite a few shows on there that are really good. Sam, have you watched anything on there?
On Apple TV?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. You should give it a watch. I think you'd really like the morning show.
I'll watch Apple TV when you watch One Piece. How's that?
Hey man, I've already watched My Hero Academia. I need to watch that movie.
Phone. There you go. I can watch Apple TV on my work phone because it's an iPhone.
So you should try to download the Google. You should download the Google Home app on your work phone and see if you can blast it to the Chromecast. Because I never had that issue, but
that might be a solution actually. that might work.
Apple TV is really good. I'll watch One Piece one of these days, dude. I promise. Oh, did you guys see? Speaking of streaming services, so DC finally bit the bullet. All their original streaming shows are going to CW or HBO Max, and DC Universe is being relabeled as DC Universe Infinite, and it's only going to be for comic books.
Our good buddy Corbin, the comic book barbarian, posted a review or opinion on that particular rebranding, repurposing. It's about 12 minutes long. So you want to hear Corbin's thoughts about it?
Was he for it or against it?
He's very much in favor of it. And you want to give him a listen, give our buddy Corbin a listen. And I'm sure he'd appreciate the views on his video. It's just a 12-minute long. It's not a full-blown podcast. He says some interesting things. He's just basically in favor of purchasing the service.
Yeah, so they're doing a really cool thing is if you get the DC Universe, if you get it before October 30th, they will allow you to add on HBO Max for $4.99 a month. So you can pay the $6.99 a month for DC Universe and then get HBO Max for $4.99 a month. I don't know how long the $4.99 a month lasts or anything like that, but they're definitely trying to make it accessible. What I would have done if I was Warner Brothers is I would have just rolled that whole app into the HBO Max app and called it a day, And if people want to buy just one channel from HBO Max, then they could have done that. I don't understand. Warner Brothers seems really in flux with a lot of so they had HBO Go, HBO Now, and HBO or something like that. Then they're like, none of that's working, so we're going to do HBO Max and HBO, and none of your apps are going to work anymore. And then they had DC Universe, and they're like, okay, nobody's subscribing to DC Universe, so we're going to change all that now too. It's like, dude, and then the other thing, CBS, another streaming network that nobody really buys, is being rebranded as
Paramount
Plus.
Like
yeah, which hasn't somebody like Disney or Apple or somebody trademarked the Plus thing? Like, why are they all doing it? Because now it just makes it look like they're all part of one network.
I mean,
like, buy the streaming services from Plus. You get everything.
Plus.
I don't know. I know. Be original, man. But it's funny because the article I was reading about the Paramount Plus thing, they were like, yeah, because Paramount is a name that's really going to get the millennials on board. Like, I didn't even know Paramount was still a company,
Well, they have a network, a cable network, Paramount Network. Used to be Spike, and now they've rebranded and call it Paramount.
No, that's where the Yellowstone show comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? That's a channel, Paramount Network? I had no idea.
Yeah. They have a lot of pretty good stuff on there. It's mostly movies and original content.
That's one that I've been wanting to watch, is that Yellowstone show.
Yeah, I want to watch it too. It's been hard to find. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's funny we're kind of getting into Fabric Club now, but I don't mind them moving DC Universe into like more of a comic book app. I canceled mine as soon as Doom Patrol, Titans, and everything was moving to HBO Max. I realized very quickly that the writing was on the wall and this was going to happen anyway. So I canceled. But I did a year membership, so I technically have access through October, but I don't use DC Universe anymore. At this point, it's all on HBO Max, so there's no point for me. I'm not a comic reader. But if you're a comic reader, I think DC Universe is going to be, or DC Unlimited or whatever it is, was a cool deal. It's the same thing as the Marvel Unlimited. You know, you get all the comics.
It's a bit cheaper though, from what I understand. I think the Marvel one is $10 a month, and the DC one's $7 a month. So at least they're doing something wise there. But I'm like, dude, if you have content, roll it all into one thing, man. Like, just get people what they want.
Well, that's the thing. People don't want that. Most people that are subscribed to HBO Max don't want to see anything about comics on their app.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
most people are there to watch Game of Thrones. Like that's, like they want to watch the big HBO blockbusters. And Friends.
Yeah, which you can't. We thought we were smart. Canceled the HBO Max, resubscribed through Hulu, and because Hulu you can access HBO Max on the Roku and Fire Sticks, and HBO said, not so fast. You still can't watch Friends. So my wife was like, why are you doing this? I was like, because you'll be able to watch Friends on our TV in our bedroom. Nope, still can't. Sorry.
Yeah, you can watch all the HBO content, but nothing that's HBO Max. Stupid.
Yeah.
But you can still log into the HBO Max app. It's whatever, but it is inconvenient. Anyway.
So so let's talk about our show or the movie we watched, The Devil Watches UP. And what an unfortunate name, dude. What an unfortunate name, because I
get the name of it.
Like I have to think of what the dang movie's called.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
called
shouldn't
The
have
Devil
to do
and
that.
Daniel Webster all the time.
Oh man.
So The Devil All the Time came out on Netflix this week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Stars Tom
Holland, Robert Pattinson,
Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, Tony Shalhoub. No, what's Sebastian? Sebastian Stan. Thank
Riley
you.
Keough, and that guy from the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, there's quite a few big names in it, and
yeah,
it's
they've
an
also
ensemble
got
movie.
They've also got Skarsgård, the guy who was
Pennywise. Yeah,
and they've got tons of people, tons of really good young actors.
The acting in
Kyle says, huge. What's up?
What's up, Kyle?
What's up, Quantum? I'm just gonna start calling Quantum Kyle QC. That seems so much easier. What's up, QC? Or QK? QK is what I meant. QK. QC is Queen Creek. QK is what I meant. Now QK doesn't roll as well as QC does.
Cuke, which is short for cucumber.
Can I just call him Orange Juice Chugger? That's what I'm going to call him.
What about
when he was on the show? Did he drink a lot of orange juice?
We tried to get him to chug it.
Let's just call him Kyle.
What?
No, we don't call him Kyle because we have another friend that's named Kyle.
Quantum, yeah. There's Kyle. There's Quantum Kyle. I like Quantum Kyle, dude. And that's pretty much off.
I like Quantum Kyle.
Let's call him Kyle XY.
So we can have Grandpa Kyle,
cool.
Grandpa Kyle, and Kid Kyle. That's
Kid
the difference.
Kyle. Yeah, because I'm sure when Quantum Kyle is 35, he still wants us to call him Kid Kyle. He's like, guys, I hit my puberty a long time ago.
I have 3 kids.
Couch Crunchers will be in VR by then. It'll be totally different.
Oh yeah, dude. You'll be able to reach out and stroke Sam's beard in VR.
Oh yeah, it'd be so sexy.
Sam, Mechanic, tell me about that movie.
The movie Mechanic's beard. That'll be my VR
app. We watched The Devil All the Time on Netflix. And Sam gave a brief review on his Facebook page. Although he rated it in stars. Like, I don't know what this star rating is. I thought we did cushions.
We do on the site, but that's just my Facebook, dude.
Sam's done this well before the Crunchers.
Like 3 stars. Like, is that good? Like, I don't know. 2 thumbs? Like, who? I'm just kidding. No. So, and you liked it. It seemed like. I think 3 stars from you is
positive.
A pretty enjoyable movie. It's not getting the same love online from what I've seen. It is the #1 streaming movie on Netflix, so a lot of people are watching it. But
yeah.
Well, I don't listen to a lot of reviews online because I always intend to give my own. And I did notice that there was about a 60% or 65% Rotten Tomatoes, which means that most people are recommending, but there's a pretty strong minority that's not recommending. And I enjoyed the movie, but it was the way it was structured seemed a little simple for what I think they were trying to achieve. Did you guys remember doing Bad Times at the El Royale? I feel like Bad Times was a very similar style movie, but it was structured a lot more interestingly because they went out of their way to show how these characters had different dualities. And the idea behind Devil all the time is these people are all connected to the same place. And you see them interact in different generations even. But it's never anything that's so interwoven or interlaced that it makes it that critical that they are from the same place. It's just like, oh, what a coincidence that they're all from this place. And I feel like if they had spent a little bit of extra time to try and interlace the narratives between the different characters, and there's lots of examples that I could give. So, for example, the gal from Alice in Wonderland, I think her name's Mia Wasikowska. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
She's in the movie?
She's in the movie. She plays a girl that Skarsgård's mom is trying to set him up with when he comes back from war. And she ends up marrying the preacher, who the actor we last saw as the villain in The Old Guard. And he's pouring spiders all over his face, and that was really creepy.
He was nuts, dude.
Before that, he was the villain in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And they have this really just kind of bizarre relationship that ends tragically because as a preacher, the young man gets a little overzealous and a little over infatuated with the mythos of Christianity. And he ends up killing his wife in order to hopefully demonstrate his power of resurrection. And it's like, geez Louise, what is going on here? And then their daughter grows up and ends up falling in love with a preacher played by Robert Pattinson. And only he's married. And so it just seemed like coincidence, right? It wasn't like it was tied together real well. It's just coincidence. And all of the connections that these people had ended up being coincidence. It wasn't like a cause and effect thing. It just so happened they came across so-and-so, and isn't that interesting? So while I did enjoy it because I like to see how those stories, those interweaving stories play out, I felt like they didn't really try real hard to make it work together.
So I felt I had a hard time paying attention until Tom Holland showed up. Did you guys feel that way?
I didn't have a hard time paying attention, but it was slow. The story was really slow before Tom Holland showed up, and I didn't watch any trailers for it before watching this. I hadn't even heard about this movie until you guys said, hey, we're reviewing it. And so I just went in, and all I knew was Tom Holland's in this movie. Cool. So I'm 40 minutes in, and I'm like, where the F is Tom Holland? I was just like a little distracted by the fact that he wasn't there. Because
You're like, am I watching the right movie?
A couple times I checked. Because at first I was like, oh, okay, so they're setting it up. Tom Holland's character must be the little boy, which he was. And so I'm like, okay, they're just doing a little setup, but I didn't expect the entire first act to be set up. for Tom Holland growing up. It's fine. It's not a problem. I mean, the Place Beyond the Pines is a similar idea where the whole first act takes place
A much
years.
better movie.
They're both. I mean, I really liked this movie, but yes, The Place Beyond the Pines is better. But it's a similar idea where they set up like the whole first act is way more in the past, and it sets up what happens later. Yeah, it is pretty much a whole generation. You're right. But anyway, it was a little bit slow before Tom Holland got on, but I think that the setup was necessary. My only thing that I was a little bit disappointed by is that the Lenora's father preacher, I can't remember his name.
Dudley?
Well, yeah, Dudley. Yeah. But right before he gets killed, he tells them. I think Roy, yeah, you're right. Anyway, I think he tells them just before, like the people that kill him, he tells them, my daughter's name is Lenora. Like he makes a point to tell them that. And so I kept expecting some degree of like a payoff on that, and there never was. Like the murderers never found out that Tom Holland's character and Lenora were connected or anything like that. And I was expecting it to come around somehow. So I did see that as a little bit of an issue to where like you said, Sam, they had these interweaving stories, but they didn't really connect great. Like we as the viewer understood all the connection, but the characters within the story didn't really understand the connections.
I didn't really see it as Roy like telling them my daughter's name is Lenora. I kind of felt it more like, don't kill me because I have a daughter. Sure. So I didn't really feel like there was a foreshadowing element there, which we come to find out there's not, but I didn't take it that way when he was saying it. It was more like, don't kill me because I have a kid.
I took it as some degree of foreshadowing.
Yeah. So I'm
with Max on that.
You felt that way?
Yeah, because movies are a very condensed storytelling medium, and so you can't really waste a lot of dialogue. If something is not meaningful, you don't include it because you just don't have the time. And so every word that's spoken, you would expect to have some kind of payoff in the second half of the movie. And there was a lot of setup for things like that just didn't pay off. Very, very similar to my experience with Infidel, but not quite as disappointing.
Well, okay, so I have a question on that front. Wasn't there like a body attached to the cross when Tom Holland's character's dad died?
It was
not the dog. It was the dog. Okay, it was such a quick image that I was like, wait, where did that dead body come from? And then they never addressed it again later, and I'm like, maybe it was just the dog. And
remember he buries the bones of the dog at the
end. Yeah. And it was actually around that time that I was like, oh, it must have been the dog the whole time. But that was just my fault. I don't think that's really the filmmaker so much as I was taking care of my kid and cooking when that scene was happening. So I think I just missed some stuff.
Yeah, so I found a lot of it. That one issue with Dudley didn't bother me as much as it did you guys, but I did have issues with the storytelling. I felt like at a lot of times it was very dry. Like I'm trying to figure out why the cops dropped the kid off with this old couple. Like, what were they the parents of Bill Skarsgård? Because I didn't think there was any relation there.
I don't know.
So I'm trying to figure out like why he got dropped off with them. Like it just seemed really coincidental and really forced.
I think that was Bill Skarsgård's.
What are you talking about?
So the old couple that gets Lenora and Tom Holland.
Yeah, that's Bill Skarsgård's mom in the movie.
Okay, so are Tom Holland and Lenora then cousins or something? Because how did they get Lenora then?
Kind of. So the girl that Skarsgård's mom was trying to set up with Skarsgård ends up marrying the preacher boy, Roy, right?
Right.
And then the mom just kind of takes her in as like an adoptive daughter, but she doesn't ever like officially adopt her. She just keeps her around because she likes her. And so when
so she did that out of the kindness of her heart. There's no relation.
So the cops are just in the practice of leaving kids with random old people?
Well, that was Lenora.
Lenora
was her grandson.
Yes, but Lenora got left with the old couple too.
Because her mom left her with them. She said, we'll be back. We're just going for a drive. And then she ends up getting killed. But they left.
So did they not ever realize that? So I don't know. Like, I'm just like, some time had passed because she was an infant, right? And then you see a couple years later when Billy, I think is Tom Holland's name, right? Billy?
Arvin.
No,
right?
it's Arvin.
Arvin Russell.
Arvin. Who's Billy?
I don't know.
I don't know who I'm thinking of. It's a couple years later, so this mother never came back for this daughter. I don't know. I was just thinking, like, I think it just adds to the coincidence thing, like that everything seemed kind of forced. Like the narrative was seeming kind of forced. I like this movie because I thought Tom Holland did a really good performance. I thought Robert Pattinson did a really good performance. Yeah. And some of the high action scenes, like when Tom Holland goes on his little killing spree, essentially.
He's
not
like
killing
an
spree, but when
angel. He's the angel of death.
Yeah. So I thought all that stuff was really cool. And there was a couple of kill scenes, I guess you could call them, that were like shocking when they happened, right? Like you weren't expecting them. Specifically Roy and his wife, right? When he stabs her in the neck with a screwdriver.
Oh yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. No, I get what they're saying, Matt. I'm just saying, why? So this little girl got dropped off with these old people that have no relationship to her, except that the old people took in their mom, but was like a surrogate mother then, but not their legal mother.
Right.
So why would the cops leave this little girl with the parents? Because eventually the cops are like, hey, your parents went missing, so this little girl just got left there.
It's a long time ago. First off, it's like 100, 80 years ago. And it was about, who do you know? Who is willing to take this child in? I don't think Lenora's parents were alive anymore. Or not Lenora, but Lenora's mom's parents were not even alive at the time that she had the child. Her parents had died. And they left Lenora with
to babysit.
Grandma, to babysit. But they were practically family by that point. And so if anyone was going to take care of
I
Lenora,
guess it's just a different time. Nowadays, the cops would not just leave. Like if your parents went missing, that kid's going in the foster care system.
Well, I think I don't know why you keep saying the cops leave. The cops didn't leave Lenora.
The cops didn't do that.
Eventually, the cops had to come in contact with that little girl when the parents went missing. Right?
You never see that.
It doesn't ever show that, but what I'm saying is like something happened there. Like they never explain. Like we adopted Lenora, so I didn't know if they were related or something.
They're practically family.
Imagine Kelsey and I go on a date.
I'm not getting what he's saying. I'm getting everything Matt's saying.
Imagine Kelsey and I go on a date. We leave James with you. We don't have any other family. We die. You're keeping James, right?
Yeah, but there'd be a process for me to keep James.
Fair. Yes, but not in the 40s or the 50s. Anyway,
I guess it was just a different time. I would have thought that you would have seen
super small towns. I mean, we're talking like super small towns in the 50s. It's just different. Like,
yeah. Anyway, I'm getting too in the weeds of it, but but I think it still seemed kind of all happenstance, like all of it, like nothing, like people were put into specific scenarios just to push the narrative along, and there wasn't really.
I think the only coincidences come in with the serial killers. Like that's where the coincidences really come in. Is that Tom Holland's character ends up encountering the same serial killers that killed Lenora's father, and he, avenges her, but doesn't even know that he avenges her really until later. But the rest of it, I don't think is a coincidence. The fact of the matter is, Tom Holland's character, Arvin's mother dies of cancer, the father commits suicide, and Tom Holland goes with his grandmother. Like that's not a coincidence. That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And then Tom Holland learned from his father to be very protective, and so when Lenora is getting bullied, he goes and beats the crap out of those guys, and then eventually, because of the preacher, he avenges his sister essentially. So to me, that's not a coincidence. That's how he was taught by his father to be. You know what I mean? I think with the serial killers is where the coincidences come into play. They didn't bother me. I started off by saying gripes with the movie, but honestly, I really loved it. It started slow, but I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I did enjoy it too, and I'm not saying that it was bad, but I am saying I wish they had done a little more cause and effect. The structure of the movie is the first act. You're getting Tom Holland. The reason why Tom Holland can kill these people at all, right? Because his dad was in the military, he was disturbed, and his dad was really hard on him. And then he showed him how you get back at bullies by waiting for your right moment. And it just kind of builds up all of these, basically the set of skills, to borrow from Taken, the particular set of skills that he needs to kill all of these people. And then the second act is all about setting up why the people he kills deserve it. And then the third act is just him running into the people who who he's going to kill, and then doing the deed, and then finally getting away.
That's actually a really good description, Sam. You're right. Like the whole second act is learning why these people deserve to die. Because originally, like the cop, Beck and whatever his name is,
Odecker.
I don't know why I thought there was a B in there. Anyway, Odecker, like he seems a little skeevy.
Bodecker.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, Bodecker, like he seems a little skeevy. He's cheating on his wife. It seems like, getting a handy from that girl in the car, but like it doesn't seem anything that he needs to be killed for. But yeah, as we get deeper into the second act, we see him. We realize, oh, dude, this guy's the sheriff. He is really corrupt. He's taking bribes. He's working with like mobsters. He's killing people who wrong him. He does not deserve to be.
And he's sweeping
sheriff.
all of his sister's stuff under the rug. He doesn't know she's a murderer, but like she does a lot of stuff, and he's
covering all this up just so he can keep power. He's not a good guy.
Well,
Speaking of, did you guys notice he put on a little bit of weight for this movie, huh?
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the deal.
I think they puffed his face up because he got beat up.
He was trying to look fatter, but he had inserts in his cheeks. Anybody can look fatter if they put some cotton inserts or some foam inserts in their cheeks.
Oh, is that what they did? I thought they only did it after he went to that brothel and he got beat up by the security guy. Because it was right after that one side of his mouth looked bigger. I thought he was just kind of swollen from getting beat up.
No, he had chubbiness inserts in his cheek the whole movie.
Anyway.
Well,
I thought he did a great job. I really enjoyed it. Go ahead, Lance. Sorry.
Well, I was just disappointed that Tom Holland didn't web sling anybody in the face.
Instead, he shot people.
He did activate instant kill.
He did.
Dude, I love that too. When he goes on that little spree of beating up his sister, I guess we'll call her his sister, the bullies. And he puts the bag over their face and he's beating them to a pulp with this paper bag over their face. I was like, that was a nice touch. Like I liked almost every scene with Tom Holland in it. I liked it. And I even looked at my wife midway through Tom Holland's portion of the movie. I said, this kid's going to grow up to be a phenomenal actor when he's older. He just has that presence to him.
Well, he already is that, but I get you mean like he's going to be
20
years from now, 30 years from now, we're going to be talking about him like people talk about
be more prolific.
And Brad Pitt and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Dude, the best scene in the movie for me though, it involves Tom Holland. Freaking why am I forgetting his name?
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, thank you. You knew exactly what I was thinking of. See, best friend vibes. Robert Pattinson's character was so awful.
He was so gross.
He was so gross. And what makes it worse is that there are true stories of priests doing that to children. That's what these girls were. Sure, they're adolescent, but they're still children. He was gross, man, and just skeevy and slimy and just awful and manipulating all these girls. He was raping them. And he didn't want to see it that way. Oh, well, they consented to it. Is how his mind went. When really he's using his power as a priest to make them think they're doing something for God. And he's raping these girls. It was awful. I hated him.
Didn't he do a good job, though?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I hated him because of it.
So his accent... Did you see the story about his accent that he was using?
No.
So he hid that from the entire cast and the director until the first scene. Like he came out with this high Southern draw, like he added a high pitch to it, and it took the entire cast. It shocked the entire cast when he started speaking this way because he just made that up in his hotel room for like 6 hours. He was working on this thing, went in to film his scene, and camera started rolling and he started speaking this way. And I think like it added to the skeeviness, this high pitched Southern drawl. Like he seemed slimy, right? Even before you knew that he was a slimy guy. The minute they introduce him, when he starts speaking, you're like, oh, something's up with this guy, right? Like you automatically got that feeling. And I just thought his performance was fantastic. And I'm not a Robert Pattinson fan at all.
I'm becoming one. More and more.
But
everything I see him in, he's great. But
the last three movies I've seen him in was fantastic.
Yeah, but the scene I'm trying to get to is when you get all the setup and then Tom Holland confronts him. That scene was
in the church.
In the church. And here I am just thinking to myself, please murder him as brutally as possible.
No,
this guy.
Yeah, I love the talk up to it where he's like, I have to make a confession, and then he starts confessing the preacher's sins, and it takes a minute for the preacher to really catch on to what's happening, and that was a pretty awesome scene.
Well, you can also see how freaking like he's basically a sex addict. This preacher, you can see how sex crazed the guy is when Tom Holland's talking about how his wife will do anything. Well, what will she do? Oh, she'll go down on me. Do you get her to throw up? Like he's asking all these questions. Like, what does that matter, preacher? Like, what the heck?
Because he's into it.
Like, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
He's getting off on the story that this guy's telling.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good thing. I'm saying they did a great job. He's just becoming more and more hateable in that moment. Yeah, and I love that he's essentially telling the preacher's story as himself, and I love that. That was such an amazing scene, and Tom Holland did so good. And so did Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, exactly. Quantum says that Tom Holland is religion makes you horny. Matt just said that.
I wouldn't say that's true.
Quantum Kyle says that Tom Holland is auditioning for his role as Red Hood. I don't want to see Tom Holland as Red Hood.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I don't think that. I don't want to see that.
Spider-Man,
and it's not because Tom Holland
character than Red Hood.
Well, and it's not because Tom Holland is Spider-Man. It's just I don't picture that.
Lance wants Jensen Ackles. That's why.
Jensen Ackles is too old, but there are better actors, or not actors, not in acting ability, but there's better people suited for that role. More suitable. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to see that. Plus, I really don't like when these actors transfer from Marvel to DC. I really don't like it. It takes me out of it. I don't want to see Robert Downey Jr. suiting up as Batman one day. I really don't want to see that.
That's a difference. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree, Matt. He would not be a good Red Hood. I don't see that at all. The kid that got on Titans, though, Jason Todd. I love that kid. You know which one I'm talking about, Matt?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just don't know how I feel yet. He does a great job.
I love that.
But I'm not sure about him as
kid.
Red Hood. He's an annoying character.
But he looks deranged.
In a good way.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, he does. He does a really good job.
Isn't Jason Todd Red Hood anyway?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, like, when we eventually get to see that character in Titans become Red Hood, I think it's really going to work. Because he kind of progresses as a character by that point. But
yeah,
I agree, Max. That scene in the pews, and then when Tom Holland shoots him, like you don't even know at first if he hit him, right? And then it was just so merciless how Tom Holland, came over and finished the job, right? Like you could see, like Tom Holland believed he was doing good, right? And he just capped him off. There was no real hesitation at that point, right? And so that made me think about the beginning when he comes in, he's pointing the gun at him at his back, right? And Robert Pattinson doesn't know he's there yet. And you can see him hesitate. I was like, oh, he doesn't have the stomach for it. But I don't think, and after seeing that, I was thinking more like, no, it wasn't that he didn't have the stomach, is that he really wanted to make this guy squirm, like he made all these girls squirm. By shooting him in the back without letting him know he was there was an easy way out. So he sits down and has a story, and he really just sold that he wanted this guy to suffer, right? And I think it made the scene so much more powerful.
Well, I think it started out as he didn't have the nerve. And then he starts talking himself into it by reminding himself and then the preacher also of all the dirty deeds he'd done. And as the preacher stands up to try and justify himself, he makes matters worse for himself by saying, oh, you know, it wasn't my fault. These girls are throwing themselves at me. What else am I supposed to do? And yeah. And then he says, yeah, but she was pregnant. He's like, well, I'm not going to keep a baby. That would ruin me. It's like, yeah, you're going to die right now. So one of the things about this movie is, which of the kills do you guys think was the most powerful?
Oh,
Probably that Robert Pattinson one.
Right.
I think so too. Yeah.
And the problem with that one is they led with the most powerful moment, right? They led that final act with the most powerful moment instead of finishing with it. And so once he kills Robert Pattinson, he's basically reached the height of his moral authority, and it's just downhill from there. And so every other kill that happens is basically coincidence. And so I think if I were to mechanic this movie, I would restructure it so that, one, the people who he kills all are related to the dirty deeds that have been done to him. In particular to Lenora, that somehow, you know, he finds out that these people are responsible for Lenora's death, for Lenora's parents' death, and that they made it possible for the preacher to come in and take advantage of Lenora. It would be really nice to have them all have some kind of really explicit connection that Tom Holland can see and understand.
Can I just interrupt you really quick and just say, clickety clack, Lance, don't click back?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
So that's all I'm saying is it would be really nice if there were more kind of tighter interweaving of the characters in the story rather than just, oh, you know, it just happened. Like, first off, how does Tom Holland know any of this? Or how does the narrator know any of this? And,
yeah, I kept thinking that the narrator just must have been God. Because like the narrator knew everything. I took the narrator.
How did the narrator get the story to begin with?
I thought the narrator was God. That's what.
Well, I thought the narrator was Tom Holland.
No, because the narrator knew things that Tom Holland never would have known.
Third person the whole time. So it would make sense if it was like the guy that picked Tom Holland up at the end, and then Tom Holland tells him the whole story.
Yeah, but the narrator knew that, like, the narrator knew that Lenora tried not to kill herself, and no one else could have known that. That's why I think that the narrator was just like God or something.
Yeah. Yes. This movie was Matt. This movie was based off a book by the same name, and the screenplay was written by the author of the book.
The narrator was omniscient, essentially, which in a book is very common.
I know, but there was
that into a movie form.
He wasn't like disinterested though, because remember he's talking about the killers, and he's like, these are sick Fs, right? And he calls them sick, and it was really a nice touch, but it also lends itself to thinking that he has an interest in the outcome, or he has a connection to the people involved in the story. And we didn't ever get the source of the narrator's voice or the source of the narrator's story. Like, how does the narrator know any of this stuff? It was an interesting take. I just wish they could have done a little bit more to connect the dots. And then maybe rearrange the order of the killing so that the preacher's the last one.
Yeah, I understand why they went in the order they did, but you are right. Like, each kill was progressively less impactful because the sheriff was the least important of all of those, to Tom Holland specifically. And the serial killers were definitely a bigger deal than the sheriff, but the preacher raped his sister, like essentially, and killed her inadvertently. So yeah, the stakes were highest on him. That's a good point. I just don't know how you would restructure it, but you're the mechanic. I'm sure you could figure out a good way.
Well, I'm throwing it out.
Also, I'm MODOK, according to Matt. I don't understand why, but maybe it's because I moved my head so close, and so I'm like mostly head on my screen. I don't know, but
MODOK.
Matt says I should be MODOK, so I'll take it. Marvel, pay me all the money. I'll do it.
Well, yeah, I didn't think about that until you brought that up, Sam. The only killing that Tom Holland really had control over was the Robert Pattinson one, right? That was the one he sought out to do. That was the one that really set him off as an Avenger, I guess. He's a avenging angel. But all the rest of them were just he was put in a bad situation and taking care of himself, essentially. He didn't know that these people were bad people, really, that he was avenging somebody else, right? He didn't know that these two people were killing hundreds of hitchhikers across the highway. He just killed them to save himself.
Right.
But the one that was most shocking, though, was when Dudley kills his wife. That one.
Yeah. Every other kill I saw coming. But
yeah, I did not see that one coming. And it was the hardest to watch as she's crawling away and bleeding out the side of her neck. That was insane.
I mean, they did tell you early on that was the last time she'd be seen. And then they caught back up to it much later on down the road. I feel like she leaves the daughter, she leaves Lenora with the grandma, and the grandma says she didn't know that would be the last time she'd ever see so-and-so.
Oh, that's right. They do say that.
Yeah, they do.
And then,
yeah.
So you're just waiting to see how she gets killed.
Well, I always thought that preacher was kind of creepy. He gave off creepy vibes as well.
Well, yeah, he let spiders crawl all over him like it's bit in the face.
It's so gross. Come on, man. That's creepy. That is literally creepy.
Yeah. Well, and then he's in like his room just like screaming and yelling, and I'm like, goodness gracious. This is why people think that Christians are nuts, because of people like that.
Well, zealots.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? There's you see those essentially they're it's satirical on these mega churches where people are fainting as they're being touched by a preacher or something on live television and stuff. It's that kind of stuff. A show that I talked about a few weeks ago that recently wrapped up its first season, Perry Mason, deals with this. The same topic where an infant was murdered in the first episode within the first 5 minutes, and the whole season is them trying to figure out what happened, and then there's a trial and everything. But then there's this church where actually newly cast She-Hulk, I forget the
Tatiana Maslany.
actress's name. Yeah, she is a preacher for this mega church and says she's going to resurrect the baby on national television, and it just creates a whole bunch of hysteria and craziness and everything like that. But this is a real thing. I mean, there are these preachers that are getting tons of followers, and these followers are believing that they're capable of these miraculous acts that are just, and it could be dangerous. But this is obviously more not satirical. Would satirical be the right word, Sam? It's a exaggeration of that, I guess.
Yeah, satire would imply humor. There was nothing humorous about this.
It was
right.
It was a very cynical approach, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not that this kind of thing never happens. I mean, it does happen quite a bit, actually. But I think the way that they were going about it may have put a bit of a cynical spin on it. Anyway, the preacher angle was just one of many angles. It seemed like, there's there's an idea that when you are writing a movie about people killing other people, that the people who are going to be killed have to commit one of the 7 deadly sins. And so you want to have anybody who dies committing a 7 deadly sin, or the one person who dies committing all the 7 deadly sins. And you have 4 people getting killed here. You actually have a lot of people getting killed. And the guy who kills his wife, the preacher who kills his wife, like, that's pride for sure. And then you have Robert Pattinson's character, that's lust. You have the photographer, that's wrath. The Riley Keough, who's the photographer's wife, it's hard to say. I would say she's probably sloth, or she's not really interested in having sex with the guys. She's just kind of going along with it, which I think is sloth. And then you have Sebastian Stan, who's definitely like envy. He seems like a real envy type guy, but
and greed too,
and greed, sure, avarice. They call it avarice. But yeah, they're all guilty of a 7 deadly sin, and so they deserve to die, and that's what you see in these movies. But usually you get some connection drawn, and I keep going back to that. But that was basically my biggest problem with the movie, is the lack of cause and effect, the lack of connection between the characters, other than coincidence.
Speaking of 7 deadly sins, 7 had their 25 years ago. 7 came out.
Did we find out what was in the box?
I think it's her head, isn't it?
I have not.
Oh my gosh! No, yeah, no, I know. It was a joke. It was a joke that I said.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's implied, right, in the movie? You've never seen 7, Max?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, 7's great, dude.
I've heard really good things. I just haven't seen it.
What's that?
Gluttony guy, gluttony. Ugh, that's so disturbing.
Oh, dude, you got to watch that movie, Max. It's really good.
That's what I've heard. I want to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
do you know where I could find it?
I think it's on my Vudu.
Oh, really? Well, easy.
If not, I have it on Blu-ray. So you just got to come over here and get it.
Yeah, I'll never plop the disc in. I'm horrible about that.
Yeah, Max still has my Fight Club movie that he hasn't seen before.
I know. I need to see Fight Club, but I know the freaking twist, so it kind of sucks. Let's see.
It's still a great movie. So that movie got me into not Zac Efron, Matt. Dave Franco, I can live with. Zac Efron, I really want him to be Human Torch.
What the frick are we even talking about? Are we ready to wrap up?
There's been a whole fan cast of Red Hood going on in the chat.
Well, and no one will reply to my fan casting for Black Cat in the chat.
I'm
disappointed. Lance, yeah.
I got
Lance
the
as Black Cat.
I thought Lance was for it. Sushi Creek or something.
He's trying to get a sponsorship over here. Anyway, back to the movie. It has its downfalls. Should we get into our final thoughts and
yeah, let's wrap it up. Lance is starting to fall asleep on us over here. Let's wrap.
I'm not falling asleep.
Oh, he's been asleep.
You've been dozing.
So Max, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Get in your final thoughts and your rating. 5 out of 6.
6 out of 7. No. I think I'm gonna land on a 4 out of 5. Because I thought the last half of the movie, other than the coincidence stuff, was really, really good. I was thinking of giving this a 3.5, but I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I keep saying fun. It wasn't a fun movie. It was actually a very depressing movie, but it was cool. It was entertaining. I liked the story. I liked the interweaving nature of it. Other than the fact that it was a coincidence, I did like how it all tied together still. But yeah, so 4 out of 5 for me. Sam is next.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 couch cushions. And the reason being, it was entertaining. I I was really shocked when I heard Tom Holland's dropping F-bombs. My wife and I looked at each other like, he's got his big boy tights on today. We had a good time watching the movie. It was fun. The way that the people kind of bumped into each other was kind of fun. I wish they had done it a little different, as I've said many times already during the cast, but it was still pretty good. I had a good time. It is dark. There is quite a big body count, and there's some graphic violence they show.
Oh, very, very mature subject material. This is not
the serial killers. Like at one point, they blow a guy's dick off, and that's like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
When he's straddling him and taking pictures of his face.
Oh my
he's
gosh.
crying.
Those people were messed up. That's why the whole de-escalating kills was such a thing. I'm like, you got the rapist, you've got the serial killers, and then you've got the greedy sheriff. The greedy sheriff is the least of those three.
Right. There's some mechanics to the story that I would change, I would tinker with if I could, but overall, the elements of the story were pretty solid, I'd say. I'm going to have to disagree with Matt from Absolute Geek, who said the movie sucked. I didn't think it sucked. I thought it could have been better, but it was pretty good time for what I saw. So 3 out of 5.
So I think I'm going to split you guys right down the middle. 3 couch cushions and a throw pillow for me.
Nice.
I was entertained. The beginning was really slow for me, so I missed a lot of the dialogue and stuff that's happening, because when a movie's slow, I start looking at my phone. Then Tom Holland comes in and the violence really starts it was really at the point where Roy kills his wife that I started to pay a little bit more attention, and then I drift out again, and then they had Roy getting killed, and I drift back in and out again. But when Tom Holland got there is when I feel like the story really picked up. But I thought that Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland specifically did a really good job, but there were flaws in the story. And it's slow. A lot of it's slow until the action starts picking up. So 3.5 out of 5 for me. And so we spoke on it briefly. So Sam, what's that actress's name that just got cast as She-Hulk?
Tatiana Maslany.
Thank you, Tatiana Maslany. She was just cast as She-Hulk. It's official. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Orphan Black. You guys watch that show? So Orphan Black was my first introduction to her, and I thought she was phenomenal in that show. That's a really good show. And so I'm really down. No. I don't remember her being in that. I've seen Parks and Rec, but I don't remember her being in that.
Yeah, she was in Parks and Rec. She was one of Tom Haverford's love interests for a short time.
Really? I don't remember that.
Not neither.
But she's a phenomenal actress. She's in this Perry Mason revival as the preacher, as I spoke briefly before about that. And she does phenomenal in that as well. She's not the actress that I had in mind going into being She-Hulk. I really wanted Allison Brie from Community and Glow. You know who I'm talking about? Allison, right? Allison Brie?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
I really wanted her. And it's my understanding that she was the top pick, but something must have fallen through. At least that's what reports were leading us to believe for quite a while. But I think this is a fair choice. I think she's going to do well. Sam, what do you think?
I really liked her in Parks and Rec. So I'm excited. I think what's his name? Boss Logic did some concept art that I thought was pretty impressive. So I'm looking forward to it. She's pretty versatile. She's got a great look. So I think this is a fab.
Yeah, I think it'll work. Max, what do you think?
I know very little about this actress. I really have nothing to base my statement on, so I guess I'm just gonna have to trust the casting. I really
Max,
don't
you
know.
should really give Orphan Black a watch, and then let us know what you think after you see that, because Orphan Black is a really good TV show.
I know I've heard good things. I've got enough TV shows and video games that
It's
are
true.
on my backlog. I'll get to it eventually, or I will never get. I'll probably never get to it. I'll probably never get to it. Honestly, we'll see.
So I'm trying to look here.
I'm looking at this
any
girl's
other-
face. What is she in Parks and Rec?
I told you she was one of Tom Haverford's love
No, I know.
interests.
I'm not remembering her. Tatiana and I don't know.
So
Anyway.
Josh Wilding from comicbookmovie.com is reporting that Tom Hardy has been reportedly cast as a new James Bond.
Neat.
Yeah, I'm not on board for that.
I'm not either. I love Tom Hardy, but I think there's a miss by not casting Idris Elba.
Well, I would have wanted someone younger, but
Dude, Idris
I don't
Elba's old. He's an old dude.
yeah, I would have wanted someone younger than Idris Elba. But I don't know, Tom. I think I probably said on a show 6 months ago that I was excited about the idea of Tom Hardy. I don't know why my mind has changed, but I don't know.
Potentially because you can't understand him in any movie he's
I
in.
can understand him just fine. That's a complaint you have. I've never really had that issue. In fact, when I saw the original trailers for The Dark Knight Rises, I loved the way it sounded, and I didn't want them to change it. I think
Yeah,
it sounds
because you're
so
just
much worse.
distracted by flashy lights and violence. He's like,
that
oh,
actually
bat
is quite
symbol.
true.
Let me not pay attention to anything else happening around me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I can. In Venom, he mumbles almost the entire movie. Sam, do you agree
Yeah.
with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy is
That's
really
not-
hard to understand.
So it's not just me.
The only
Max
movie
must
I
just have-
the only movie
Go
I've
ahead.
ever really understood him in is Inception. And I feel like he was kind of using an accent in that movie too.
Well, he does have a British accent, right?
He does, but he was kind of using a little bit more of a fancier British accent in Inception. Mustn't be afraid to dream of the bigger darling, right?
Yeah.
But in most of the shows that he's in, I mean, he did one for FX where he plays like a shipper. I forget what it's called, but he was very hard to understand in that. He's hard to understand in that MMA movie he's in where he plays one of two brothers that make it to the finals of this MMA
Warrior?
tournament. Yeah,
Love
Warrior.
that movie.
Oh,
Love that movie.
Warriors, so good. I understood him in that, but
He mumbles through that movie a lot too.
yeah.
I think it's just part of, the Tom Hardy package is
It's
going to
his
get a
style,
guy
maybe.
who talks and mumbles a lot. And
Well, he must confuse it for intensity or something. Like, I'm just going to barely be audible and people will really get my dramatic performance.
well, he was,
I don't know.
here's another movie he was very easily understood where he enunciated was Star
This
Trek
Means War?
Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis, where he played Shenzon, the Romulan clone of Jean-Luc Picard.
How long ago was that?
Dude, that was a
Some
long
ages
time ago.
ago.
Tom
Yeah,
Hardy Tom Hardy played a younger version of Patrick Stewart.
So he was in This Means War with Chris Pine and Reese Witherspoon. I felt like I could understand him very well in that. But most of the time, I don't know what the heck he's saying for half the movie.
There is a movie that I did have a harder time understanding him in, Lawless, but he's got like a real strong Southern accent in it, if I'm remembering correctly, and that's part of why. But that's a good movie too, dude. Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy in that. Anyway, I don't know. He's got a good look, so I'm sure that if this is true, he'll be a great James Bond. But I actually was kind of hoping that we were gonna get a black James Bond. I thought that would have been cool. Idris Elba's cool and all, but I would have wanted someone younger.
No,
Actually,
I don't want to see an origin story anymore. I like, Sean Connery played James Bond when he was old too. And I want to see, I like those stories. Like, I wanted to get back to that. I don't need to see any of this new James Bond adventures anymore.
So what do you want? You want Daniel Craig's James Bond to just continue on with a new actor.
I would have liked that, but if they were going to recast, I thought Idris Elba.
Don't they
was a good
usually
choice.
reboot with every single James Bond? It's kind of like a new iteration.
No, I
like,
mean Pierce Brosnan didn't have origin stories.
no,
Daniel
they don't.
Craig's
You don't
really the only one.
Yeah, you don't have to have an origin story, but I don't think Pierce Brosnan's James Bond was intended to be the same as Sean Connery or Timothy Dalton or Roger Moore or any of those. I think each James Bond has kind of been its own entity. But maybe I'm wrong. That's just how I've always perceived it.
I don't think
I
it's
love the
ever
Daniel
explicitly
Craig ones.
saying it's a. I don't think it's ever explicitly saying this is a new story or this is a different universe or any. It never explicitly says that. With the Daniel Craig one, they did. Like, we're going back to the beginning. We're starting over. This is how James Bond becomes James Bond. Like, they're more explicit. But everyone before that, it wasn't like that. Like, I think people just assumed it was a continuation. I mean, who's the lady that runs the MI6? She was cast in several different James Bonds, wasn't she?
Judi Dench.
Wasn't she in a?
She first appeared as M in Pierce Brosnan's last appearance as James Bond.
Yeah, and she carried it through to the Daniel Craig ones.
Yes.
So, I don't know. How old is Tom Hardy?
I don't know. An age.
He's 40. He's 43. He's 5 years younger than Idris Elba. Idris Elba's 48.
Yeah, dude, the 40s, they take their toll, bro.
No, I think
Idris
think he
Elba's
would've
got
done way
his
better.
music career to think about.
he's a musician.
He's a DJ.
Yeah, I don't know. Or Tom Hiddleston would have made a better James Bond.
Tom Hiddleston.
Nah.
Loki. He was a fan cast too. Anytime you saw James Bond fan casting, Idris Elba and Tom Hiddleston were at the top of the list.
Yeah, I bet the Tom Hiddleston ones were coming from the ladies. They love him.
I think he's a phenomenal actor.
He is. I just don't see him as James Bond.
Well, no, everybody said that about Daniel Craig too, and Daniel Craig killed it.
Oh, he was awesome. I'll miss him.
But nobody liked that casting because he's not even English. I think wasn't that the big deal, Sam?
Daniel Craig's English.
Yeah, I was going to say it.
I don't think so.
I think Henry Cavill would have been an awesome James Bond, but he's a little
Henry
busy,
Cavill would have been cool.
Well, I think Daniel Craig, he had to basically reinvent the role to make him more of a bruiser. And because, before he had been very wine and dine, very fancy, and he kind of took it back to, this is a guy who's going to run through the streets and beat your face in.
Or maybe it's his accent wasn't right or something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Sam.
I've lost my train of thought. I was just saying, yeah. Daniel Craig had to basically reinvent the role. And he went from very fancy, very refined killer to chasing people down in the street, parkour, fisticuffs,
a lot
very
more
raw,
brutal.
very brutal.
Yeah. I love this reinvention. It's so much better. I love it. Well, has there been anything else?
There is one other thing I wanted to bring up. Did you guys like Haunting of Hill House?
I didn't get to catch it.
Yeah, the new one's coming out, but it's like
Haunting of Blythe Manor. It's coming out in October. Again,
but it's like a different story with some of the same actors, right?
Right. Same director, a lot of the same cast, totally new story. It's not a sequel per se, but it's like the next story in the anthology of these haunting series, which is cool. And if you recall, Haunting of Hill House was kind of really famous for the background ghosts. Like if my house was haunting, you'd see like a face right here under my cape hanging on the wall. And the face wouldn't really interact with anybody, but it would just be there to kind of add to the creepy ambiance of the whole thing. Well, Bly Manor, I've seen the trailer, I've seen the posters, and they're already doing it. They're already hiding those faces, those ghostly faces all over the place. So looking forward to more ghost hunting in Bly Manor. It looks like a great story. Very, very creepy, very scary. What do you guys think?
I haven't seen the original.
I'm
so I don't really have a lot
excited.
to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited. The Haunting of Hill House was one of the best Netflix shows I've ever seen, and it's the kind of show that normally wouldn't garner a rewatch for me. But I watched it all. Then somebody said, "Hey, there's dead people hidden in like all the scenes of this show." And I watched it again just so I could spot all the dead people, and there's hundreds, right? There's like every time there's just like a creepy person standing in the corner. You don't notice the first time you're watching it. It was
they don't
awesome.
do anything. They're just back there to lend creepiness to everything.
There was one where they're in the kitchen, right? And there's this big window in the kitchen that takes almost the whole screen, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a dude just standing there, doing nothing, and you don't even notice him the first time. Right. And he takes up 60% of the screen, if I remember correctly. And you don't even notice him the first time you're watching. I had to watch it again and saw him there, and it creeped me out. And it's just a dude in like really like pale makeup and stuff, essentially. Like they look almost cheesy, right? They look like just people, like they're not like with bullet holes or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you would think a ghost in a horror show would look like all mangled or something. They're just dudes in light skin makeup. And it was creepy, man. Like there's a dude standing on the stairs like several times throughout the show that you don't even really notice. Like you notice them once and you're like, oh, they're going to come back to that. Who was that dude? Right. But then they pass them a couple times. Dude, it's
freaking creepy, dude.
It's a really good show. I mean, the story itself is really good. And then the ghost in the background is just kind of a gimmick because they don't really do anything with it story-wise, but it really adds a lot of creep factor to the whole thing. Because you don't even notice it for a long time. And then I remember when I first noticed it was in the wine cellar. And the dad goes down in the wine cellar and he's like, he gets the lights set up and he starts pulling the bricks away to expose that really like kind of dead area with all the mold and stuff. And you see a woman's face just in the background. She's like just peeking out, looking at him, pull the bricks away. And I was like, oh my gosh.
But they're not pop out. They don't do anything. They're just background. It's like, it's the same as walking into a room and there's a lamp sitting on the desk. Like it's the same thing. It was such an inventive way to just add a creep factor to the audience that it made it so much better. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, Max. Like you need to watch it. It's like is horror.
It's like horror. Where's Waldo? But it's so effective at just creeping you out. And they're not doing it for jump scares. It's just to add to like the feeling that you're being watched in this house.
Yeah, it's very good. Like I said, I think it's one of my favorite Netflix shows I've ever seen.
Maybe I'll need to binge it before the new one comes out.
You don't need to watch the first one.
No, I know. I know I don't need to, but I don't usually watch horror much. But when Halloween season starts to come around, I'll occasionally get into it for like that month, and that's about where we are right now. We're about to get into that Halloween season again.
When's the release of this, Sam?
October 1st, I think.
I'm definitely watching it.
Bly Manor comes out October 1st. Hill House was so good because it like horror just to like scare you or for gore or things like that. Like that's not really creative. That's not really inventive. It doesn't really change anything for your life. Just kind of, it's just like cheap thrills. But Hill House, I thought was so. Did you see Dr. Sleep? I feel like it's very.
Yes, like that was a great movie.
Very into Dr. Sleep.
If you like Dr. Sleep, you love this, Max.
Hill House, really? Hill House, and Dr. Sleep are very, very much kindred spirits. And
because Dr. Sleep is really very scary.
I think they have the same director actually, and so. I think if you like Dr. Sleep, you'd really, really like Hill House.
Okay.
Dr. Sleep is so good, man, and it totally fell off my radar when it came out, and I'm so happy that I watched that you recommended it, because it was so good. And we watched The Shining and then Doctor Sleep like right back to back, my wife and I. So it added to how good Doctor Sleep was. It was such a faithful sequel to The Shining. Like, I loved every second of that thing. And you're right, man. Like, I didn't make that connection before with The Haunting of Hill House and Doctor Sleep being very similar as far as creepiness is concerned. And you're right. They are very similar. I'm trying to see. So Mike Flanagan directed Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, he's the director.
Yeah, so he wrote and edited the Netflix supernatural horror series, The Haunting of Hill House. So,
and I think he's back to direct.
Yeah, he's back. He also spearheaded the upcoming standalone second season titled The Haunting of Bly Manor.
I think he is probably my favorite horror director today. He's very good at not only creating the ambiance and the horror just environment. You know, it's the kind of horror that sticks with you and that teaches you something about yourself. And that's something that I think is very hard to do regularly, but for some reason, really good horror really shines a light on yourself. And that's something that I really appreciate about Mike Flanagan.
So I agree with you, but you know who else is very good at that? Jordan Peele is phenomenal. Like Get Out and Us were so good. I love, and he does the Twilight Zone now. He's the host of the Twilight Zone on CBS All Access, and I've been hooked to that. I watched all 2 seasons in like 3 days. Like, I was hooked on that show because it was so good. The future for horror as a genre is very bright because of some of these new players coming in and updating it. Like, I've been so let down by the last few horror movies that I've seen. Like, we saw The Turning with Finn Wolfhard. Is that his name? Wolfhard?
Yeah.
Finn Wolfhard? Yeah, I have it right? Which it is based on The Turn of the Shrew, I think, which is also what this new Haunting show is based on. The Turn of the Shrew. And The Turning is so bad. Shrew.
Turn of the
Shrew.
Screw.
Return of the Stew. Is it beef?
It's the screw all the time.
Oh, screw. Was I saying shrew?
Yes.
It's screw.
Stew.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Stew.
So you look at the two. So you look at The Turning, which was such a letdown and such an awful movie, and then you look at what Mike Flanagan's gonna Flanagan.
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that the character's name on Better Call Saul?
Mike Flanagan? No, there's no. Mike Ehrmantraut is who you're talking about.
Ehrmantraut. Okay. I don't know where Flanagan came in. But you look at what this director is going to potentially do with the story, and it makes you so much more excited. Like, you guys remember I went and saw The Grudge with Jay and talked about it on the show. Do you remember that episode, Sam?
Yeah, you said that you wished you had never seen that movie or knew anything about a movie called The Grudge. You wish you could go back in time and stop yourself from seeing that movie.
I was very upset.
Hey, The Invisible Man was horror. It was pretty good. I like that. The
Invisible Man's horror, but it does have some jumpiness to it. It's not nearly as good as Dr. Sleeper.
No. But I'm just saying, as far as like horror movies that came out recently, it was decent. Which it's coming to HBO in like a few weeks if you guys want to rewatch it.
What, The Invisible Man? It's on Hulu right now.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it's on HBO right now, but it's on our Hulu HBO. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I was looking up like what's coming out soon, and I thought that was on the list. But
The Invisible Man is very good because it takes all the supernatural element out of it, right? Like it makes it more of a tech thing and makes it far more believable than what The Invisible Man really was prior to that, right?
Yeah,
it's
on Hulu right now via HBO.
Yeah, so but no, The Haunting of Hill House is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I'm so excited for this new basically they're doing the American Horror Story anthology, I guess you could say, like that tactic as far as their show is concerned, which American Horror Story had some really good seasons. I don't know if you guys have seen any of those.
Sure.
Yeah, but that brings us to the end of our show, I think, right? There's nothing that, well, Max pre-ordered a PS5 successfully, so congrats, Max.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning. And we didn't talk about the Mandalorian Season 2 trailer, but I think we're good. Let's wrap up.
Yeah, it was good.
Exactly.
Had a lot of Baby Yoda scenes.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, so I just hope it's not, too Baby Yoda-ish. Like, I like him, but
give me all the Baby Yoda. All of it.
No, I want to see a good show before they start putting merchandise in my face, to sell T-shirts. That's the Jar Jar tactic. As much Jar Jar as possible, so we sell toys.
Jar Jar sucks. Jar Jar sucks. I'm excited. I'm going to Disney World next month, and my wife bought a shirt. So I'm wearing, actually right now, my Dadalorian shirt, and my kid has a Baby Yoda shirt, and that will fit him then. And then my wife got a Mamalorian shirt. So when we go to Hollywood Studios, we're going to all wear those, and it's going to be wonderful going to Star Wars Land. Anyways, that's awesome. A little anecdote to end the show. And until next time, keep on geeking on.
No, go check us out on Facebook. Max, you weren't here last week. You're out of the rhythm. So go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, your mom's house. We're everywhere. So go check us out. And until next time. Oh, and check out Absolute Geek and Quantum Kyle. He's doing the Flaccid podcast, I think it's called, right? Is that what his podcast is called?
Until he hits puberty, and then it's going to be the Erect podcast.
So go check out their stuff. Oh, and comic book. Our friend Corbin has Comic Book Barbarian. He's doing some new stuff on his Facebook page too, so go check them out. And if you're still wanting to stick around on YouTube, check out our friends, the STS guys, that are going live in 9 minutes. And until next time, keep on geeking on.